today's episode of Juicing the Numbers. I am your host, Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
And Corwin, what are we talking about today on the show?
Oh, we be talking about some wrestling. Some NCAA wrestling.
I hate you so much.
Why, you don't like wrestling?
I don't like you. So, as I mentioned on the Monday episode, Corwin spent his weekend in Pittsburgh for... all right, so what was the actual purview of the competition? Because I said states, and when I listened back to the episode, I was like, that's some high school shit. Like, this shit ain't states. Is it like Big 12?
What I went to?
Yeah, like, what the fuck was it?
This was the NCAA Division I National Championship.
Okay.
So, like, this was the big shebang. Yeah, it was...
Real quick, before you get started, just for reference, we're foregoing a stats topic for this week. We talked about it, and between my being sick all of last week and then Corwin being away all of last week, and it was just... We didn't have enough time to really, truly prep a topic we felt comfortable discussing, and rather than talk about a really half-assed statistical subject, we figured we could still talk about this and a few current topics, so it's kind of like having two Monday episodes in the same week, but we thought that would be just fine rather than just throw some random ass bullshit at you. So yeah, that's just the warning, I guess, before we get into the wrestling.
All right. Wrestling time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wrestling time?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
So basically, I spent Thursday through Sunday out in Pittsburgh, spending, roughly, 8-9 hours a day watching just dudes grapple each other in just super tight pinnies. And it was honestly probably one of the best weekends of my life.
Solid, buddy. So tell me about the structure of the competition and all that.
So basically what it is, in college wrestling, just as a bit of a background, there's 10 weight classes, and in the tournament, it's 33 wrestlers at each weight class. I did the math, 33 times 10. That's a lot of wrestlers. And basically it's a double elimination tournament with a primary champions bracket and a secondary consolation bracket. You need to lose twice to drop out. The top 8 finishers at each weight class become All-Americans. And then there's, not third consolation, but there's wrestlebacks for the 5th place, the 3rd place, and the 7th place matches. So, it's an audio podcast, so I'm reading off of the brackets here. But basically, for Josh, just for your knowledge, every day they give you a giant packet filled with these brackets from the previous session, giving you, it's a bracket. It's not hard to explain. It's literally what you would think it is. And man, it's hundreds of matches. I think in all there's 640 matches throughout the entire tournament. I watched probably 600 of them. And basically how they set it up, it was in the PPG Paints Arena out in Pittsburgh, where the Penguins play. And they basically just take out the ice, throw 6 wrestling mats up in there, and it's just, for the entirety of the session.
Well, if they run it like MSG, they were probably on top of the ice, because that's how I know MSG runs. I think that's how all hockey/basketball stadiums run it. They actually put stuff on top of the ice.
Honestly, I have no idea. I've never actually watched them break it down, but that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's because I guess it's... Like, when you think about it, it makes so much more fucking sense. Because I thought the same thing. I thought that there'd be basketball shit underneath. But then you got to think, then they got to keep pumping water into the fucking place. Mm-hmm. And that just sounds like nonsense. So instead what they do is they add a layer on top, and then they put, like, X number of feet by X number of feet chunks of the basketball wood,
right?
The floor wood on top of the ice, which is why Rangers fans myself included, always complain about the ice being shitty at MSG because there's
it is.
literally basketball games happening on top of the ice. So
I actually have seen them put together and pull apart like the basketball court at MSG when I was there actually for a Penn State basketball and hockey doubleheader. I just didn't see the part where they covered up the ice. I just saw them piecing together the actual, like, it is like it's like 6 foot by 6 foot sections of court that just piece together like regular flooring in your house.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see. But anyway.
Yeah, so basically all this happens in different sessions throughout the week. There were 6 sessions total. There's a morning and afternoon session on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, with the championships being, 7, 8 o'clock Saturday night. Yeah, so just like to give you an idea of how much time I spent wrestling, I spent from 10:30 to 11 at night on Thursday watching wrestling, with like lunch breaks in between, but still. And then from 10 a.m. to 11:30 on Friday, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday. So just I thought I was going to have time to get work done and like be able to piece something together for the podcast, finish homework, study for an exam I had yesterday, whatever. But no, it's literally just me sitting watching wrestling, and it was fantastic.
How many matches were happening at one time?
So they start out with 6 matches at a time, basically just rotating through. Like there's never any open match. It's just whenever one opens up, another one starts right after. And then on the second day, they took out 2 of the mats. So they would have the championship bracket in like a middle 2 section. And then on the 4 outside mats, they'd have the consolation brackets. So you're burning through it faster than having to watch, all of these matches at one time, or having to split them up. And then Saturday, they had 3 mats in the morning. And then for the championships, they just put the one final mat on this giant platform in the middle and just let loose. Just for some further breakdown, because I've talked with Josh about this before the podcast, and he's unaware of how wrestling works. It's 3 periods long. The first period being 3 minutes. The second 2 periods are each 2 minutes. Scoring is 2 points for a takedown, which is basically just having the control of the other wrestler and taking him basically to his knees. You get a point from escape. So when you get taken down, if you can break free, you get a point. You get 2 points for something called a reversal. So basically, if you get taken down and without escaping, you flip it around and take down the other guy, that's another 2 points. And then the only other big thing is back points. So basically, if you take some guy down and flip him on his back, you get up to 4 points for doing that based off of how long you can keep him there. And then since this is essentially a team setting, the way they have it set up with like the dual matches between 2 schools, or for the overall tournament, teams earn points based off of winning a match and winning a match in bonus points. So there's a major decision. There's a regular decision, which is just winning the match. There's a major decision where you win by 8 or more points. There's a tech fall, which is if you win by 15 or more points, they stop the match and say, it's a mercy rule. Basically, stop fucking murdering this kid. Let him go. And then there's a pin. So basically, if you get both of the opponent's shoulders to touch the mat, the back of their shoulders, I should say, both of those get touched to the mat, it's a pin.
If you had to give me a percent of how many of these matches actually ended in a pin, what would you say that was? Because I'd have to imagine that's like the ultimate, right?
Right.
I mean,
Everyone
that's the goal.
Exactly. So the pin is like the big thing. If it's like the ultimate, I dominated you this match, I fucking pinned your ass. That's the big thing. Man, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed by now, I'm a big Penn State fan, and Penn State wrestling at the moment is the best in the business. So we have a lot more pins than most teams. But just for reference, the two wrestlers who I'll talk about later, Jason Nolf and Bo Nickel, they have the career all-time pin record at Penn State, which is 60. So over 4 years, they've gotten 60 pins with roughly 30-some matches each year. Granted, in 5 matches so far in the, or not so far, in the 5 matches during the tournament, Bo Nickel had 3 pins. Pretty fucking cool. But, you know, they're not super common.
So would you say somewhere like 10 or 20%, or is that even too high?
Man, it's just, it really just...
I know you don't have any actual numbers to base this
Right,
off of.
right,
This
right.
is just kind of gut eye test feeling, but...
I mean, for guys like Bo Nickel and Jason Nolf, this year it was closer to like 50%. But, I mean, those are top-tier guys. Those are like...
I was trying to go below that because
Right.
that seemed like a little bit too high as a guess, yeah.
So, for like a typical All-American, he might get, 5 in a season. So, 15%. Maybe, 15, 20% if they're wrestling, a normal opponent. And it's just, you wrestle so many of these schools and there's just so many wrestlers. There's a big difference between play level, like guys against Penn State. We wrestled teams like Edinburgh College. We're going to kill kids from Edinburgh College. Like, it's rough. So, like, there's going to be a lot more pins, obviously, that round. If we play like an Ohio State, an Iowa, Oklahoma State, we might be lucky to get a pin or 2 in that entire match.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of pins in like high-level matches, which makes it just so much more exciting when they do happen.
Right. So the 3 pins that one dude got in the over the weekend must have been a huge fucking deal.
Right. Huge deal. There was, I'm forgetting like specific matches off the top of my head, but really like in the top, let's say quarterfinals on, there really was only less than a handful of pins in the entire tournament.
Well, I bet, especially as you get to the later rounds.
Right. I think there might have been like 1 or 2 in the semifinals, and I don't think there was any in the final championship like finals.
What would you compare a pin to in other sports? Is there really a good comparison?
A knockout punch in boxing.
Yeah, or a conversion, or similarly a knockout in MMA or UFC. But
right.
There really isn't.
No,
there's no other immediate ending.
There's nothing that just ends the game right then. Like, it's like the golden snitch, Again, Quidditch isn't a real sport, although that argument can even be made nowadays, which I don't want to have. But
no, because it's a sad man's argument. I guess maybe a walk-off hit, but you still have to perform the whole game up to that point, so I'm not sure that really counts either.
So throughout the weekend, we were hanging out with some of my dad's college buddies back in the day, one of which his father was one of the Penn State managers and coaches back when they first won their first national championship in the 50s and stuck with them for a couple of years. And we were all trading stories with wrestlers that he had coached and scouted over the years. And one guy was saying how he was down 20-0. They didn't have a tech fall. They didn't have any mercy rules in like the competition he was wrestling at. He was down 20-0. Just gets lucky with a mistake the opponent makes, flips the guy over, pins him, match over. Completely dominated the entire match. Had no hope. Got lucky, was able to pin the guy down, and that's it. Game over.
Just an Aaron Rodgers fourth quarter comeback.
You don't have to be performing at all, but all you need is that pin. And it sucks, though, because like you're watching these matches, and maybe one of your wrestlers is down by, an insurmountable margin for how much time is left. And you're just sitting there. It's just like, all right, he's got to pin the guy. And you're just sitting there. Everyone there knows he needs a pin, and the other guy's just dancing around, not letting the guy get close. And It's always just that little sliver of hope that hurts the most.
Yeah, I know what you mean, bud.
Do you have any other questions you want me to go into?
Not in the immediate.
All right. So let me bring up the final standings and whatnot.
How many? Actually, I do. How many colleges or universities get invited to come to this thing? And can you come in as an independent wrestler, or do you have to? No, it's NCAA. I guess you have to be part of, associated with some kind of school. So how many schools go?
So
I know you said 330 some odd wrestlers, but
right. So it's not the schools that get invited. This is actually a good part because this is where I was going to go next. It's the individual wrestlers that qualify. So basically, they have conference tournaments like you would have for basketball or football in a way, and based off of how you finish in the conference tournaments, you qualify. Like usually, it's the top 3 for major conferences qualify, top 2 for lesser ones, and maybe just the champion for lower level conferences qualify for the tournament. And then at the end, they'll have 50 or so, 45, 50 or so at-large bids that the NCAA can just hand out to wrestlers at any weight class. So, like, if a guy is hurt and can't wrestle, or, a top-seeded wrestler is upset in a conference tournament, he's still able to go to the NCAA championships. So, pretty much all the top 20 ranked guys, plus, champions who might have upset someone, and a couple of other big-name wrestlers get invited. But in all this year, there were 63 schools. Actually, that's not true. I have to actually look it up. There was 63. There was a tie at 63 between 8 schools. So there was 91 total schools that participated this year.
I'm imagining amongst the fans, Penn State was probably very well represented.
Yeah, being in Pittsburgh, Penn State was probably, probably like 30%, 35% of the crowd. So the way it works is individual schools
Pitt send schools and players?
Pitt sent a handful of wrestlers. I don't know how many off the top of my head. Penn State, for instance, sent 9 out of the 10 weight classes. Pitt probably sent around 6, I want to say. But each school basically just gets an allotment of tickets that they sell to their alma mater, to their schools, and then bigger schools just get larger allotments of tickets. Schools with more wrestlers get more tickets, stuff like that. And what's interesting about that is Penn State is so popular right now amongst, wrestling fans. They always run out of tickets. So it's nearly impossible to get tickets through Penn State. And this year, you needed to have enough of what I think we call Nittany Lion points. So basically donations to the university in order to even buy the tickets. And it worked out to something like $100,000 in donations outside of tuition. Jesus. Just to be able to buy the tickets to go to the championships.
How did your dad get tickets to this?
So, my cousin Ryan, my dad's nephew, is the director of facilities for the Pittsburgh Convention Center, who buys tickets for the NCAA championships through whatever connections, they have with PPG Arena. And we got those tickets, which were fantastic. I'll talk about them later. But the people that we went with bought season tickets for Lehigh, University of Penn, Princeton, smaller schools who are still going to make the tournament. They buy season tickets and get the championship level tickets through those schools because it's cheaper than buying through Penn State.
That's crazy.
But yeah, our tickets were absolutely phenomenal. We were equivalent to like the 30-yard line, maybe like 3 or 4 rows back, row H, whatever that is. I don't know numbers.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's great.
man, like we just had some great views of the entire wrestling tournament, all 6 matches. It was fantastic.
Remember those seats we had to the doubleheader in Baltimore?
Yeah.
Oh, that was so great,
honestly,
wasn't it?
That was fantastic. You can tell that story. I mean,
I saw much a story. We went to Yankees had a makeup game in Baltimore because we had so many fucking rainouts last year, and it was actually Players Weekend because remember they wore the Players Weekend jerseys, which was super weird in person to see the Yankees not wearing pinstripes or road grays, and we bought the lower section seats for the first game at like $60 a pop, which is still fucking nothing. And then we bought shitty seats for the second game, and then just went up and waited to see that Camden Yards would not fill up, and then ended up sitting in basically our exact same fucking seats again after like the second inning or so, which was great. Actually, Matt and I just bought our tickets for the Kansas City games, so I'm fucking pumped
playing the Yankees,
about
I
that.
assume.
Yeah, we bought tickets right next to the Yankees dugout, and for the Friday night game, and then for the Saturday night game, I bought seats literally up against the Yankees bullpen. So I want to like get there early and like see if I can get the attention of whoever the fuck starting that night, and just be the gigantic ass Yankees fan that I am. And just shout at whoever it is and tell them I love them, because I love all of them.
I thought you were going to say be the gigantic asshole Yankees fan that I am, but that also works.
I mean, what is one without the other?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we didn't buy tickets for the third game because we're going to try to see like if we can do what you and I did with the Baltimore thing. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just excited for Yankees baseball again, man.
2 more days and we get to watch it. I already have an alarm set for opening pitch, I think, of the Mets-Nationals game, which is going to be the first one I watch.
Yeah, I'll be watching the Yankees, who are we opening with? Is it it's the Orioles. Yeah, Yankees O's 1 o'clock, so I'm going to be watching
right?
in my office.
You're wrestling against Kashner. You're facing off against Kashner?
Yes. I honestly, after Andrew Kashner, I have no idea who the Orioles starting rotation is. So
I know
whoever the
Alex
fuck
Cobb is there, and that's it.
Oh, he is still there, yeah. Because I remember listening to the Effectively Wild season preview series, and they just did the Orioles like yesterday or some shit, or today, and they were saying like, yeah, I don't know if they've even announced their other starters yet. So I'm gonna be curious who the fuck we face after those two.
Oh God, I just looked up their starting 5.
Give it to me.
Andrew
hit
Kashner, Dylan Bundy.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot he was on that team.
Because he's real bad when he's not on his game.
Yeah.
David Hess.
Okay.
Mike Wright.
Okay. Oh no, it
and
doesn't sound
Nate
right at all.
Carnes.
Oh, Nate Carnes. I remember. I think he was on the Royals last year. Was he the one that flirted with that perfect game?
I don't even. I don't even know how to look that up.
There was some random ass Royals pitcher last season who like had a perfect game through 8 innings and then got into the 9th and then walked a batter to ruin his perfect game, but still had a no hitter and then let up a single and got pulled. Like, and it was someone totally out of the fucking blue. I want to say it was Nathan Carnes.
Here we go. Perfect games broken up in the 9th inning. Jorge Lopez for the Royals. Rich Hill of the Dodgers.
That one was sad.
Yeah, those were the only 2 in the past 2 years.
All right, then maybe it was this Jorge Lopez guy, but oh well.
Yeah, Mike Messina, September 2nd, 2001.
He was still with the Orioles at that point.
No, he was with the Yankees.
Oh, right. 01 to 08. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he bookended our championships. That's right. Okay.
Baseball. Can't wait.
I know. Me too. Anyway, continue with your wrestling speaks.
Yeah, I don't know where I was, but I'll just start from the results.
I think that's what you were doing. Yeah.
That's fair. All right. So Penn State actually went into the finals with 5 wrestlers. We had 6 in the semifinals, brought 5 into the finals. So 5 finalists out of 10 weight classes is wildly impressive. We ended up actually securing the national title before the third day even started.
Jesus.
So yeah, it was kind of
lopsided.
It was pretty lopsided, but I think that took away from kind of, I don't want to say motivation, but energy out of our wrestlers in the final day. Like they just, I don't know. Regardless, Penn State finished with 137.5 points. Second place, Ohio State finished with 96.5. Oklahoma State finished third with 84. Iowa was 76. Michigan was 62.5. And Mizzou was 62. I guess I could just burn through the champions. So of the 10 weight classes, there's 125 pounds, 133, 141, 149, 157, 165, 174, 184, 197, and 285. So Spencer Lee, Nick Suriano of Rutgers, Spencer Lee of Iowa, Nick Suriano of Rutgers, Yanni Diakomahalis of Cornell, Anthony Ashnault of Rutgers, Jason Nolf of Penn State, Mekhi Lewis of Virginia Tech, Zahid Valencia of Arizona State, Drew Foster of Northern Iowa, Bo Nickel, and Anthony Cassar of Penn State rounded it out. So something pretty cool. Rutgers has never had an NCAA champion until this year when they won 2 in Nick Suriano and Anthony Ashnault. So that's pretty impressive for Rutgers. Virginia Tech got their first national champion with Mekhi Lewis. And I actually think Drew Foster is the first for Northern Iowa as well. So pretty huge for those schools. Penn State finished with 3 champions in Jason Nolf, Bo Nickel, and Anthony Cassar. Nolf and Nickel being 2 of, honestly, the greatest wrestlers in college wrestling history. Just absolutely dominant. They each won their 3rd national title. Both are 4-time finalists. They have just been absolutely dominant over their careers. Like I said earlier, they both hold the record for career pins at Penn State with 60. Bo Nickel essentially had a pin in like 70% of his matches this year, which was phenomenal, unheard of. It was great. Out of the big matches, Mekhi Lewis was probably the biggest upset, defeating Penn State's Vincenzo Joseph, who was the...
Ooh, what a name. Vincenzo Joseph.
Oh, my God. I love Chenzo so much. I was absolutely heartbroken when he lost. But basically, so before finals, the top 3 at this weight class were Vincenzo Joseph, Alex Marinelli, and Evan Wick. Mekhi Lewis beat all 3 of them on his way to the national championship. Absolutely was dominant. I didn't think there was any way that Alex Marinelli was going to get upset at all in this tournament. I thought Vincenzo didn't even have enough to beat him. This kid, Mekhi Lewis, was a world junior champion. Burned through all 3 of those guys. Just deservedly took home the most outstanding wrestler of the tournament trophy. Just killed it. Anthony Cassar upset Derek White in a wild match. Max Dean lost out to Drew Foster in one that just came down to the wire. Just looking back, like these were some pretty fantastic matches. Except for Nick Suriano over Dayton Fix. That one was fucking dumb, and I hated it. Basically just... Do you remember that Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight where Floyd just kind of stood around and just like threw some punches in here and there.
Where Floyd played his game, which is a really shitty, like not fun game to watch, but it's literally what everyone was expecting to happen.
Now just imagine.
Yes, I remember what you mean.
But imagine both boxers doing that, where both of them are just playing super defensively. No one's taking any shots. They're just kind of standing around, circling each other, not doing anything, just waiting for time to run out. That's what this 133 match was. It was dumb. I hated it.
Yeah, it sounds fucking lame.
Probably the biggest match outside of this was a rematch of last year's national title at 157 between Jason Nolf, again of Penn State, and Hayden Hidley of NC State. Nolf beat him in the finals last year. They wrestled in the semifinals this year, and it was a super tight match down to the wire. Nolf was up by 1 point with 30 seconds left. They were in a neutral position, which means both guys were facing each other. No one had been taken down, quote unquote. And they both have a chance to go for a takedown. Nolf to steal the victory, Hidley to steal it away from Nolf. And with roughly a second and a half left, Hidley dives in and looks to start taking control of Nolf, is able to bring him to his knees with just milliseconds left on the clock. They call it with a timer. They don't award a takedown, even though he got control, and it looks like he took him to his knees. They challenge it. They go to video review. Everyone is in their seats just biting their fingers, waiting to see if Nolf gets knocked off. They go to review. They say, hey, they took him down, but it wasn't in time. We can't award any points. Nolf walks away as a finalist, ends up winning the match. In an interview immediately after, Nolf was like, fuck, man. Well, he didn't say fuck. He's too nice for that. But he's like, damn, that should have been 2 points. He should have beat me. In the stands, it looked like he should have beat him. I am not going to complain about the refs here because it worked out in my favor. But honestly, it could have been like riot worthy if that was in the finals. Like, people would have thrown fits if something like that happened. Like, it would be the equivalent of a guy running in for the game-winning touchdown after being down 6 points with like half a second on the clock, and they just spend 5 minutes watching whether or not the ball crossed the plane right as time expired. And just everyone there thinks they know the answer, and the refs are just like, fuck it, we don't know. Just give them the victory, whatever.
So, like, dangerously close to the Rams-Titans Super Bowl.
Yeah. Dangerously close.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I thought I was going to have a fucking heart attack throughout some of these matches, just with how stressful it gets.
Classic fucking Nolf.
Nolf. Classic Nolf.
Classic Nolf. So, out of the desire to be a good co-host, I decided to Google greatest wrestlers of all time, see if there was, any college information there. I could see if I could find, maybe some old Penn State dudes. No, every single result is just WWE, which, of course it is. I don't know why I thought I'd get Olympic-style wrestling.
You have to just throw college wrestling in front of it. You just have to throw best college wrestlers of all time.
Did you ever get into WWE?
No.
I never did either. I tried watching it because one of my roommates in college was big into it, and I can appreciate the pageantry, but I just don't care. I just don't care.
I'm the same
Although
way.
I do I like clips on YouTube. That's what I like.
Yeah. Like, looking back, if I grew up in the 80s when, Macho Man Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan were running the show. Actually, I think Hogan was after that, but whatever. I probably would have gotten into it just because those guys are just such characters. But whatever.
Well, number one on this list of the Sports Illustrated 101 greatest wrestlers of all time is Ric Flair.
That kind of wrestling still.
Classic Ric Flair, and then it's number 2 of Shawn Michaels, and then number 3 is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 4 is The Rock, and number 5 is The Undertaker. So, I know most of these names. Number 6 is Dusty Rhodes, and I have no idea who the fuck that is. So that's my contribution to the wrestling.
So if you do want to
subject.
see, go to Google top college wrestlers, and there should be a website called
like gay
Flow
porn.
Wrestling. Click on that, and that'll give you the actual best wrestlers of all time.
So did you go to, while you were in Pittsburgh, did you do any Pittsburgh stuff? Did you go to like Primanti Brothers or anything?
We actually didn't go to Primanti Brothers. I still have never gotten a sandwich from there.
Really?
Yeah.
That shit's so good.
I go drinking there at Penn State all the time. I've never eaten food there.
Wait, there's a Penn State version of Primanti Brothers?
There's like a Primanti Brothers in Penn State that at night turns into basically just like a nightclub.
Oh, that's odd.
It's weird. Like when I first got here, I was like, no, I don't want to go spend my Friday night at a sub shop. Thank you very much. There's many other things I would rather be doing than going there, but it's a really good time. I recommend it.
I love Pittsburgh's thing. Every time I go there, I always forget how much they love fried eggs on sandwiches. Oh. Every fucking sandwich has a fried. Don't get me wrong, I love it.
So
I love it. But like, dude, like I remember once I was at one and there was like peanut butter and jelly with a fried egg, and I'm like, do y'all just got nothing but eggs? Like, what happened to your city?
Everything is yellow, and everything has an egg on it.
Did you ever been to the Leaf and Bean?
No.
Dude, you would love the Leaf and Bean. It's in like the Polish section.
Mm-hmm.
It's a coffee joint and cigar joint where they make their own cigars and they make their own coffee. Dude, it's so fucking good. It's all wood interior. They have a coffee bar right when you walk in, and then it's like a huge fucking lounge, and they have a walk-in humidor in there as well where you can go get cigars. So fucking good. Shout out to the fucking Leaf and Bean. Yeah, no, dude, that's I anytime I'm in Pittsburgh, which has been twice, I make sure I go to the Leaf and Bean because that shit's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
everyone there's super nice.
I mean, we went to Southside, checked out some restaurants there. Went to this place called Claddagh, which is an old Irish pub. I got a burger with an egg on it there.
Very fucking Irish.
Yeah. That place was cool. We went to Market Square, which is basically like, I don't know, it's basically a giant square with a bunch of nice restaurants in it. Ate at a place called CityWorks. It was pretty good. Got very drunk there. Got very drunk at Claddagh. There was a lot of drinking involved.
It is Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh and my dad's college buddies. So yeah, a lot of drinking involved, and I didn't have to pay, which means I actually did drink a lot. Where else did we go, man? We checked out the Pittsburgh Convention Center. They had a fan fest there. That was pretty cool. Got my picture taken with the championship trophy. That was
pretty cool.
I met so many just outstanding wrestlers there. Like world champion wrestlers, Olympic champion wrestlers. Just super cool seeing all them. And
did you get any numbers?
Just super casual. No, I didn't actually get any numbers. Who would have thought?
Oh man, you should have asked.
You know what? As far as wrestlers go, I'm sure that they've had their fair share of reach arounds and fingers up the ass. So some big lanky kid comes up to him, says, "Hey, want my number? Can I have yours?" They're like, "Nah, kid, walk out of here."
Hey, it was great talking to you today. You want to go fuck sometime? I'm all about it. Show me your pin move.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Penn State wrestling in the shower.
I have nothing constructive left to say about wrestling. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I mean, I ended up looking up the top 10 NCAA wrestlers of all time. Cale Sanderson, we've talked about him on the podcast before. Head coach for Penn State. Only undefeated 4-time NCAA champion. 159-0. No doubt. Guys like Kyle Dake out of Cornell. 4-time champion. Did it in 4 different weight classes. Actually met him there. He's coaching for Cornell now. Dan Hodge, who basically the wrestling Heisman is named after, 3-time champ, 46-0, 36 career pins. Logan Stiebler, who I met, 4-time NCAA champ, has absolutely the hottest wife. Like, his wife. I stopped and just stared at this woman for an uncomfortable amount of time just because I was so taken aback. Whatever, that's kind of weird. Moving on. And then there's guys like Zane Rutherford and David Taylor on here from Penn State. Yeah, a bunch of guys that you have no idea who they are, but, you know, pretty damn good wrestlers. Pretty damn good.
Well, right on, man. So real quick, remember the other day when we were talking about AAA organizations for baseball teams, and I was shitting on the Mets, and I said I think that they stopped using Las Vegas as their AAA team?
Yes.
Well, they did. They did stop using it. This is the first season. Because I remember hearing something and not remembering because it's not my team and I don't care that much. The Mets are now their AAA team is now in Syracuse, and it came up in the news because Noah Syndergaard was very pissy about having to go up to Syracuse.
And, I did see that shit that went down. That shit was fucking funny.
Yeah, the Mets are going to need to talk to Noah Syndergaard about shutting the fuck up. Because, dude, like, this is the team you work for. Like, this isn't gonna go well for your arbitration.
That was some fucked up shit, though. Like, look,
Noah Syndergaard needs to shut the fuck on up.
I can see both sides of this argument.
No, I don't see Noah Syndergaard's side at all.
Really?
At all. Not even a little bit. Dude, you're fucking wrong. I'm sorry. Man, you're not even changing fucking time zones. Quit being such a bitch. You're a pro athlete. You ain't going to pick up your own fucking bag. Travel's nothing for you. You're going to complain to me about a fucking bus ride? Oh, Jesus. Why don't you go wipe my ass? This is such a stupid fucking thing to complain about. I don't get it. Yeah, it's moderately inconvenient, but, like, who gives a shit, dude? This is a bitch-ass thing to complain about. Mr. Never Proved Nothing to Nobody. Look, I like Noah Syndergaard as a player, and he seems like a cool dude, but fuck off, man. I don't see Jacob deGrom, the recent Cy Young winner, complaining. Who the fuck are you, Noah? All you're known for is long hair and a big attitude. You ain't done shit. Shut the fuck up.
You're so fucking New York. It's ridiculous.
No, yeah, but that's not all of it. I respect his willingness to say whatever he's got to say, and he can say whatever he wants to say when he wants to say it. That's fine with me. But at the same time, I don't think it's a legitimate complaint. I'm cool with him saying it because if he wants to say it, go for it. But, dude, like, that's such a pansy-ass thing to complain about.
So, is that how you really feel?
Yeah, it is. What do you think about the Jacob deGrom extension? 5 years,
super
130,
super team-friendly deal.
I don't think it's that team-friendly.
That's a super low AAV for a guy of his talent.
Not really. I mean, because they bought out 2 ARB years, so he was going to get $17 million and then $23 million for the 2 ARB years. So that means the remaining 3 years of the contract are at 32.5 AAV, which is right. Like, that's how much he'd probably get paid. So I don't think it's very team friendly. It seems accurate. It seems very accurate.
I mean, I didn't really dive into it, but if they are buying out arbitration years, that makes a lot more sense than him just getting a, 5-year, 135 was it $1 million contract?
Like 132.5, but 135 is good enough for us just talking about it like this.
Right, yeah.
I don't get it. No. So I get it to an extent. I think the Mets want to be a team positive organization because they don't have a lot going for them. And so I think like calling up Peter Alonso to start the season and like paying out Jacob deGrom for winning the Cy Young, like those are nice things to do. They're not good baseball organization things to do because they can hamper your team. because you should have waited 12. I know it's shitty service time manipulation, but you should have waited 12 days to call up Peter Alonso so that you'd have an extra year of control. And you should have not given Jacob deGrom this deal until next season because he's 30 and he has one good season under his belt. And we don't know if he's an injury concern.
He's put up one phenomenal all-time season. He's put up other good seasons.
You're right. But when you have 2 years of team control, why? Like, what's the point? And the thing is with the Mets specifically, they will use this contract as a reason to not do other things. Because that's what the Mets love to do. They love to do that. They love to say, oh, we'd really like to pick up this free agent, but look at that contract over there. That's a big one, isn't it? So I like it because player getting paid. I'm always a fan of player getting paid. I will stick by player getting paid. I'm just not sure I get, in a strictly business sense, why the Mets would bother.
I feel you. Did you see the shit that the Indians owner came and said about, like, after all this long-term contract came up?
Yeah, the Francisco Lindor thing?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck that guy.
That's fucking ridiculous. Basically, he came out and said, some guy asked him, hey, like, are there talks about locking up Francisco Lindor with all these other guys signing extensions, you know, face of the franchise, young, fantastic all-star player, all that. And he's like, look, you should just enjoy what's going on right now.
I think he said enjoy him while you got him.
I'm actually
was
looking
the exact
for it
verbiage.
right now.
But yeah, dude, that's so fucked. I'm sorry, but like, if you're gonna own a team, you should be willing to spend money on the players. I mean, fuck, man. It sucks seeing owners not willing to do that kind of shit. And I know this is coming off the heels of me just complaining about the Mets signing DeGrom to an unwarranted extension, or at least a premature extension. But I'm not against the player getting paid. I'm just against that specific piece of that conversation. Whereas with this, I mean, Jesus, Lindor should get an extent. Lindor should never hit free. Lindor should never wear another jersey. I mean, I don't get what else you would possibly want.
Like, I just don't get why a team like the Indians, who have had so much success, can just turn around and say, yeah, I know we've been really good with these players and we've been competing for a World Series, but, you know, we're not going to sign any of our players long term because I know you want us to continue competing, but we're just not interested in, you know, spending money. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it should be an anti-competition issue with the MLB.
I'm with you 100%. And what are they going to do when Jose Ramirez is owed a contract extension? You know?
Right. They're going to release him too?
I get why the Marlins did what they did, because there was a whole set of circumstances around what the Marlins had to do.
Right.
There was a whole set of circumstances around what the Orioles had to do. Circumstances which don't exist with the Indians.
No.
There's no especially because you're going to be seeing other contracts coming off the books soon. You're going to be seeing Corey Kluber coming off the books in the next few years. And Carlos Carrasco, Carlos Carrasco just signed an extension, didn't he? 4 years, right?
Something like that. Mid-level
Close
deal.
enough. No money that's really going to prohibit you from spending money on these other players. And the thing was, if you're paying 4 dudes good money, then the rest of your team's minor leaguers, you're making out fine. Minor leaguers and rookies don't make shit compared to how much major leaguers should make, I should say, because, you know, like Sevy and Judge and like those guys on the Yankees I know are making like $600,000, which is good money,
right.
But for an organization that fucking ain't shit. So I get that teams don't want to spend a lot of money if they're not in a competitive window, but at the same time, to have a face of the franchise style player, to have one big contract you're shelling out for, if not for the organization to achieve wins, for at least the organization to help fans maintain some level of joy and satisfaction in that organization, doesn't that seem worth it? I don't get why teams don't think that that's worth it. It seems very worth it.
Like I was just saying earlier, like hope is a big thing, and like just having a little sliver of it is just enough to like keep you on that high. Cool, our best player's gonna be gone in a couple years. What fucking hope do we have of competing anytime soon?
What hope do we have of an organization hanging on to good players?
Right. So Paul,
I'll give the Mets that kind of credit. The Mets, if they ever want to keep a player that they've had under contract or that they've had on their team, they will keep that player. I will give Mets a lot of credit for that.
David
they will
Wright.
hang on to their guys. Oh, of course.
Is he still trying to come back this year, or was that it for him last year?
No, he retired.
Okay, officially.
They had a big ceremony on a Saturday game.
Yeah, I don't
it was a
remember that.
huge deal. It was very nice, very very classy.
So Paul Dolan's exact quote was, "Enjoy him. We control him for 3 more years. Enjoy him, and then we'll see what happens."
I mean, do you think any part of it's just a bargaining tactic? You don't
What
want to say
bargaining
I
does
love
he have
him.
3 years before his contract is up.
I mean, arbitration, I guess, but it doesn't seem like it's really going to factor into an arbitration.
Yeah, that doesn't
thing.
factor into like it's not up to them, Whatever.
Yeah, I don't fucking get it.
I try and find another team that's not run like the Pirates just so I could, watch one team compete every year. I chose very poorly.
Well, hopefully the owners fucking shapes. I mean, the Indians have shown a propensity to spend in the past. They've shown a willingness to do it. I'm not sure what the current hitch is in their wallet reaching hand, but I do have more faith in the Indians than I have in the Pirates to actually go out and spend a modicum of money. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of spending money, what do you think about the Red Sox and Chris Sale?
What was the
5 years,
specifics of his?
$145 million. 5 years, 145.
If you had to give me a choice between signing Jacob deGrom or Chris Sale, I'm going to take Chris Sale every time. Granted, he did get more money, not exceptionally a lot more. I still think it's a really good deal. I like the idea of signing up Chris Sale long term.
I know a lot of Yankees fans, myself included, really hope this doesn't work out because fuck them. It's the Red Sox. And a lot of people have been pointing to Chris Sale's second half struggles throughout his career, which I think is fair to an extent, but people are acting like his second half of last season is a predictor that he's going to be at the end of his rope by the end of this contract. I don't think that's true. I think the Red Sox are just being exceedingly cautious with him last season because they had the luxury of doing so. They didn't need to lean on him. They had a very comfortable lead in their division at that point. I mean, there was no reason to ask him to keep coming out when a DL stint didn't hurt them like at all. So, as much as I hate to say this, this makes total fucking sense, and it's a very good contract for both sides. What about the Paul Goldschmidt deal? 5 years, 130.
Again, I think this one I'm a little less on just because I thought he showed his age a little bit in the start of last year. He proved me completely wrong later last year, but Goldschmidt's what, like 33 now?
Is he that old?
I think he's an old fella.
You know what's funny, though, is I've always thought of him as old. I've always thought of him as being
31.
like 32, 33.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually not terribly.
Takes him to his age, 36.
36. That's actually not that bad of a deal. A guy of his caliber, he's, a first baseman. He's a Jacob deGrom, Chris Sale. I don't think he's quite nearly as important as those guys, but I think he's going to do wonders in St. Louis. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. So why not? They got plenty of young talent in St. Louis to that they don't have to pay for a little while. So how about you?
Yeah, you have all the things I would have said. Him and Matt Carpenter will be fun together. This is a good deal for both sides. I don't know what else there is to really say about it. Only two other ones I wanted to talk about. The Astros and Justin Verlander, 2 years, $66 million.
Again, I think the money is kind of on the ball for what Verlander's value is. I do like that it's only for 2 years because he's like 36. He's an old motherfucker.
Yeah, I think he's 36 now, so I think they take him through his age 38 season. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, he's 36.
Yeah, that's wild. But hey, Justin Verlander for 2 years, can't really complain about that.
I mean, yeah, this seems just so on the nose. I mean, 2 more years is a very safe commitment in terms of time. $33 million a year is exactly what you'd expect to spend on an ace starting pitcher in this market. This is also so not interesting because it's so perfect for both sides.
Yeah, it's like there's really nothing to even talk about.
Really. Yeah, I mean, it also seems like, good on the Astros for rewarding the guy who probably was the main catalyst in them winning the World Series.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Man, he's so good.
All right, and he is
Sorry, go ahead.
MVP, Cy Young, Triple Crown, Rookie of the Year, 7-time All-Star, ERA title, Major League Player of the Year, ALCS MVP, 2017 World Series. Yeah, the dude's dirty fucking nasty.
Pretty good.
And 63.2 WAR. Anyway, final one. Mike Trout. 12 years, $430 million.
So much fucking money. I still think it's less than I would have tried to. Well, I think it's still less than what he's worth, but I think he definitely got exactly what he wanted. I love it. I like that he's going to stay in Anaheim, not Anaheim, Los Angeles for his career.
It's Anaheim.
Whatever.
It's Anaheim. Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah, he's worth so much more than this. Like, he's worth so much more than this in money and in life. But yeah, I mean, 12 years takes him through the end of his career pretty fucking much.
Yeah.
And if he still has life in him at that point for baseball, I'm sure that the Angels will give him more time. They seem like a very stand-up organization.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of AAV, it's not even really that bad. It does beat out Greinke for like most ever, but it's still like not unreasonable, especially when you consider that the Angels will have more money down the road. Contracts will probably inflate in size. Inflation won't be much of a deal, but it'll be a small mitigating factor. So by the latter 6 years of this contract, I doubt it's going to be such a huge deal, especially when Albert Pujols comes off the books. I really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
When is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, actually. I want to say 2021 is the last year of Albert Pujols' contract.
Oh, okay, so that's not too bad.
So it's coming up. But, I mean, it's been proven right just now that it's not so horribly offsetting or off-putting that they're not going to sign other people because they signed Mike Trout to the largest contract in every single way you could possibly want, while still paying Albert Pujols, whose last year of his contract is 2021. Josh was fucking right. Which is also his age 41 season, which I think also shows that the Angels aren't so afraid of age as maybe some other organizations have shown that they might be.
I mean, to be fair, he probably should have stopped playing at age 38 when this Mike Trout deal is going to be up. I mean, granted, Albert Pujols can still,
he should have
play to an extent.
Look, man, Albert Pujols is like my generation or our generation's like Ricky Henderson in that he's just going to play forever, and I'm so okay with it. Like, if Albert wants to go out and sign 1-year deals at the age of 42, dude, I'm here, man. Let's go. I'm ready for 45-year-old Albert Pujols playing first base, trying to hit singles, struggling around bases. I love him so much.
You have to remember that I am still somewhat I'm still new to this sport to a degree. Like, I don't have the same history with Albert Pujols that you do. Like, I never really watched him growing up. I only know Albert Pujols as an Angel. I don't know him really as a Cardinal. And as much as that hurts for me to admit that, but, like, I don't know Albert Pujols when he was at his peak.
I only watched Albert Pujols with the Cardinals when he played in the World Series because there wasn't really much interleague play. And even if there was, I wouldn't remember it because that means I'd be playing, or the Yankees, not me, would be playing him once every, 3 years, and I have just no recollection of that. But I remember him. I remember all of his Angels tenure, and I remember him in the World Series all those times with the Cardinals. So that's my Albert Pujols. Plus, honestly, dude, I just love watching old dudes play baseball. I love watching old dudes play baseball. Going to Old Timers Day at Yankee Stadium is so much fucking fun. Watching fucking Ron Guidry try to throw pitches. I watched Andy Pettitte hit a double. It was hysterical. I love watching old dudes try to play baseball. It's so much fucking fun.
So here's some shit for you.
Give me some shit.
Mike Trout is, let's just say he's making his $36 million this year. That's only $7.5 million less than the entire Tampa Bay Rays payroll.
Yeah, some would say they don't have much money.
That's fucking wild. That one player could be
man.
Fucking 70 to 80% of an entire team's payroll.
And this is one of the many reasons people say Tampa should not have a team. Because, while it's nifty, the way they keep finding ways to win, it's also shitty that they'll never have all-star players for a long period of time. Remember insane. David Price when he was on the Tampa Bay Rays?
Yeah.
Bet you don't. Because he wasn't there for super long because they can't afford to pay the motherfucker. Remember when they had Wade Boggs? No. Bet you don't. Because they couldn't afford to pay that man that much. Also, it was the end of his career.
I
love listening to Jack Flaherty
when the Detroit
of the
Tigers had Max Scherzer, David Price, and Justin Verlander.
And David Price. And Anibal Sanchez.
I said David Price.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. Yeah. To be fair, Max Scherzer hadn't broken out yet. But yeah, that was a bad look for the Detroit Tigers because they should have been way better. They were not. I really I had forgotten the other day I was trying to think of who had won the World Series recently, and I gave the Detroit Tigers one that they did not win because I genuinely forgot that they did not win a World Series in the last 15 years. I really thought that they fucking did.
I mean,
and I had too many World Series winners compared to World Series amounts, and I was like, who didn't? What's wrong? It's the Tigers. It's always the fucking Tigers. They were so good, and they never finished it off.
Yeah, imagine if they had fucking, triple crown winning hitters to back up that
triple clown, baby. ICP.
Jesus Christ. Fucking juggalos up in here.
Remember when they had Miggy and JD Martinez? Because JD Martinez also used to be on that team until he was not.
That. Yeah, that wasn't even that long ago either. That was super recent. That was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, because I think they traded him to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Fucking A.
Yeah.
Detroit,
the Detroit Tigers. I feel so bad for Mike Ilitch. I miss Mike Ilitch. He was such a good owner.
I don't know.
He was the owner of the Tigers and the Detroit Red Wings. And he was just a righteous dude, or at least he was. The Detroit Red Wings still, because he died only relatively recently, but if you watch Red Wings games, they still wear a patch on their uniforms that say Mr. I.
Oh, yeah, I have seen those, yeah.
Yeah, that's from Mike Ilitch. Mike Ilitch, in secret, which this didn't come out until after he died, paid for Rosa Parks' rent her entire life.
I do remember seeing that, yeah. Man,
Mike Ilitch was a genuinely good dude who just wanted to see Detroit do well at the city and the teams that he owned and operated.
Way to be, Mr. I. Way to be. I'm proud of you,
dude. Yeah, I really hope one day there's a Mike Ilitch movie, because I fucking love Mr. I. He was such a great stand-up dude. He's one of the reasons I still love watching Detroit Red Wings and Detroit Tigers games, because I feel some kind of odd bond with Mr. I. We need owners like that. As much as I love the rough and tumble George Steinbrenner, and all the stupid weird stories the dude's generated over the years, I'll always love Mr. I and his kind Mr. Rogers vibe I always got off of him. All right, if you want to reach us on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. It's JuicingPod. If you want to find our website that has show notes for this episode and all previous episodes, you can do so at juicingthenumber.wixsite.com/website. If you want to reach us via Gmail, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. And that's all for us today, folks. Y'all have a good one.
Penn State National Champs.